Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah. Respected brothers and sisters in Islam, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ramadan Mubarak. Inshallah, you're keeping your energy high in Ramadan and making the best out of Ramadan. Episode 2 of our program, Islamophobia. It's always a pleasure to be with you through MuslimDo channel. As we said in the last episode, we started off with discussing the definition of Islamophobia from two different sources, from the Canadian Encyclopedia and from the Ontario Human Rights Commission. And we saw the differences and the importance of each word and each term in the definition. So if you missed that episode, I urge you to go back and watch it. Today we're going to talk about what is the difference between Islamophobia and anti-Muslim hate. So the famous term used is Islamophobia. However, some people are saying no, it should be anti-Muslim hate. What is the difference? For us to understand the difference and decide if we really should keep one of the terms or use them both interchangeably. According to mental health experts, a phobia, so now we're talking about the term Islamophobia. Phobia is an excessive and irrational fear. Excessive and irrational fear reaction. If you have a phobia, you may experience a deep sense of dread. Very important, pay attention. If you have a phobia, you may experience a deep sense of dread, which is great fear, especially in the face of impending evil. Now we need to raise a couple of question marks. It's a feeling that you get, deep sense of fear when you are facing an impending evil. So an evil is coming towards you. Evil is approaching you. That's why you have phobia, because you're facing evil. Or panic when you encounter the source of your fear. So deep sense of dread. You dread it. You fear it. You hate it. You reject it. Rejecting what? Rejecting evil. This is what phobia is. Something that's there to harm you. It's evil. It's going to harm me. That's why I have this phobia from it, because I believe that it's going to harm me. This is what Islamophobia basically means if we use the word Islamophobia. Islamophobia, that means fearing Islam. That also could mean, well, based on the health experts and the definition that we just mentioned, it also means that Islam is evil. Islamophobia, fearing source of evil, that I'm dreading Islam because I believe it's evil and it's going to harm me. In this definition is actually very problematic, because Islamophobia could be justified by blaming the victim of being evil and a source of threat. So if people have this understanding of the word common, that I'm dreading an evil, that I'm fearing an evil, when I say, or when people use, or officials use Islamophobia, that could mean that people are automatically, they're programmed to say, I'm fearing a source of evil. So I'm saying Islam is evil. This is very dangerous. And I think based on this, hopefully I'm not exaggerating, but based on this, honestly, we should not be using Islamophobia because we are agreeing and confirming that Islam is a source of evil. The other term, anti-Muslim hate. Anti-Muslim hate, it implies a self-motivated attack. How? So if I am an anti-Muslim hater, God forbid, la samahullah, I am the one who's anti-Muslim. I am the one who's initiating the attack. I am the one who has a problem with Muslims, and I initiate and I start and I provoke. So the responsibility here is on the perpetrator. It's not on the victim. And same thing in anti-Semitism. I mean, if you think about it, it's anti-Semitism. It's not Jewish phobia. So it's a lesson for us, great experience for us to learn from. It's anti-Semitism. It's not Jewish phobia. Same thing. Shouldn't be Islamophobia. It should be anti-Muslim hate, because a person that attacks Islam or Muslims, and I say Islam or Muslims based on the definition from the last episode, they're the ones that are initiating it. They're not being provoked. They're the ones that have a problem. Even if they have misunderstanding, yes, yeah, they definitely could have misunderstanding. They could have been fueled, the spread of false information, vilification of Muslims, all possible. But it is them that becoming a source of harm to Muslims. It's not the other way around. So it is important for us to pay attention to these terms. And why? Because it's the public opinion that matters here. You know, we're trying to fight something, but we are promoting the opposite. We're trying to fight hatred against Muslims, and we're trying to promote or call for security and safety for Muslims based on the reality of Islamophobia. But we're telling the whole world and we're telling society that Islam is a source of evil. So it's counterproductive. We really need to pay attention to this. And when the public understands the meaning of anti-Muslim hate, public opinion is influenced, and ultimately policymakers are influenced by this proper understanding, and that will put pressure on policymakers and on governments to take the proper steps. So the proper term to be used, and I will be using this term in this program, is anti-Muslim hate based on what we have discussed. Now, does it really exist? A lot of people tried to deny anti-Muslim hate for a very long time. Say, no, it doesn't exist. It's an isolated case. It's a personal issue. It's a personal conflict between two people. Has nothing to do with religion. But unfortunately, such attempts were unfair to Muslims, because finally it was proven by the number of cases and the surveys and the statistics and the reports that it's real, and we cannot give it a blind eye. It is real. And it exists the most in Canada, unfortunately, in Ontario and Quebec. And simply because the majority of the Muslim population resides in Ontario and Quebec. So, for example, a survey by Forum Research in 2016 showed that 48% of Quebecers view Islam unfavorably. Survey conducted in 2016, and 48% of Quebecers, according to it, so it might be 48% of the sample. We don't want to paint the entire population of Quebec with one brush, but according to this research, they're saying 48% of the population of Quebec, the Quebecers, they view Islam as unfavorably, so they're not really comfortable with Islam. And this is being very polite when you say unfavorable, because this could escalate to something else, could escalate from unfavorable to hate. And in Ontario, the figure is 22%. So 48% in Quebec and 22% in Ontario, where the population view Islam as unfavorable. It's a seed for hatred, and we need to be careful. And this is why most of the incidents and the attacks happened in Quebec and in Ontario. And the most violent attacks took place in Ontario and in Quebec. The first one was in 2017, the Quebec City mosque shooting, where 6 people were murdered, shuhada, and حسابهم عند الله shuhada, and many people were injured. Many people are still suffering up to this day from the aftermath of that terrorist attack. So the most serious attack started in Quebec with the shooting in the mosque, and the second one was in Ontario in 2021, the London attack, the Afzal family, where a family walking peacefully down the street, they got struck by a truck, and it was deliberate. we know, and it was, I believe, announced as a terrorist attack as well. So family, father, mother, grandma, children, you can imagine, walking peacefully down the street and they get attacked, run over by a truck, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy on all of them. Nasabahum jami'an and Allah shuhada. And we will not forget our brother, the caretaker of the IMO Masjid in Etobicoke in 2020, Brother Muhammad Aslam Zafiz, who was stabbed to death as he was on his duty as a volunteer, taking care of the masjid, sitting outside the masjid. He was stabbed to death. So this is a total of 11 shuhada, 11 Muslims murdered because of anti-Muslim hate. You go back to statistics, it grows exponentially. You have 100% growth, 200% growth from one year to the following year. So it is real and we cannot deny it. And it exists where the majority of the Muslim population exists, in Ontario and in Quebec. So definitely something needs to be done about it, and definitely we need to pay good attention so inshallah we can eliminate it and have a true peaceful life as Canadian citizens that we wish for ourselves and for all Canadians. Jazakumullah khair for watching. We'll see you in the next episode. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.